My daughter, she has mental issues, and she just her in the head. Your husband? In the head.
A young girl who shot dead her abusive father now may face life in prison, sparking national outcry over the treatment of domestic violence survivors.
He controlled her, and it was like she was in jail.
Imagine being 14, being raised in of a family torn apart by allegations of abuse and torture. Bresha Meadows found herself in a storm of trauma where she could only find one way out. What was happening behind those closed doors? What pushed this teenager to take a path that would change her life forever? Welcome to Trapdoor. Let's dive into the twisted world of Bresha Meadows, the 14-year-old that killed her dad. Bresha Meadows' life took a dark turn in a quiet town near Cleveland. At the tender age of 14, Bresha was subjected to horrible acts of violence and fear, and at the center of it all was her own father, Jonathan Meadows. The family's ordeal was initially hidden behind closed doors, and they eventually unraveled in a series of chilling incidents.
The abuse had started when she was pregnant with their first child, who is now 21 years old, so she had endured decades of abuse.
Bresha had grown up amidst violence. Since her childhood, she witnessed her father verbally and physically abuse her mother.
Bresha's father, John Meadows, reportedly made life for his family a living hell, routinely attacking his wife, Bresha's mother.
His torture would leave marks on his wife, Brandy, and she would have to go through medical procedures to fix herself.
Meadows reportedly once punched his wife so hard that she heard her teeth crack. Later, she had to have those teeth removed.
His attacks were severe and could have ended her life. When she was 8 years old, Bresha's father her for the first time. He asked her to keep it a secret, and she did. However, soon, she began asking her mother, Brandy, to leave her father. In 2011, Brandy had a stroke and was admitted to a hospital. That's when she pondered on the true value of life, and she decided to separate from her husband. Even at this point, she had no clue about her husband's monstrosity on her youngest daughter. For Brandy, the medical emergency served as a wake-up call. I realized this is not what I want. Like, I don't want to die here, living like this in front of my kids, she said. After she was discharged from the hospital, Brandy left her home to live with her mother in Parma, Ohio, with her 3 children. At the same time, she filed a protective order against her husband, Jonathan, detailing the abuse she had to tolerate all these years. In the 17 years of our marriage, he has me, broke my ribs, fingers, the blood vessels in my hand, my mouth, blackened my eyes, she wrote. If he finds us, I am 100% sure he will kill me and the children. While staying at her mother's house, Brandy decided to open up about her abuse with her sister, Martina Latessa. For the first time, she was a detective at Cleveland, and she and her other sister, Sherry, both acknowledged that they knew about the abuse.
My sister Brandy was pushed around, and while all of her children watched.
Despite all this, Brandy returned to her husband a few months later. Many wonder why she made that decision, and experts have an explanation behind this psychology.
It often takes somebody 7 to 10 times to leave before they are able to successfully leave their abuser.
In fact, leaving the abuser often puts them at risk of losing control, which can turn them deadlier.
As we've seen in many cases, leaving is often the most dangerous time for a survivor and her family to leave an abuser.
Not only this, reportedly, Jonathan had made false promises to Brandy to get her back.
She loved him, and she wanted her family to be together, and she's told me in conversations, he's told her, I'm not going to hit you anymore, we're going to be better.
But their return sent everything downhill. Jonathan began tormenting them even more. He imposed strict rules upon them and always monitored their moves.
We wasn't allowed to talk no more after that, Bresha said, nodding at her mom. If you walked in and we were talking, he'd get mad.
Jonathan physically violated Bresha when she was 12 years old. She lived in a room with her sister, and her father would visit her when she was alone. Bresha knew that she was in a hell with no escape, but in an attempt to save herself, at 13, she ran away to Cleveland and sought help from her aunt.
Only 2 months earlier, Bresha had run away from home, telling relatives she was scared for her life, quote, because her father was mother and threatening to kill the whole family.
There, she told her aunt about the deteriorating condition at her home.
It did take a toll on her. She did run away, and she, told me about it, and she expressed great fear for herself and her family.
However, she didn't tell her about the incident of physical abuse. Latessa decided to send her home, and when talked to Bresha about this, she broke down. Latessa knew that something wasn't right.
She didn't tell her aunt about any sexual abuse, but Latessa wondered about it after spotting marks on her arms. Self-injury is common among female victims of station, she said.
She was so terrified of her father that she didn't want to take anything from her aunt with her.
She wouldn't even take a hair conditioner back with her that I bought her because she was afraid her dad, what he would do if he found out she had something like that.
She made Bresha memorize her number and also took her to the Warren Police Department so that she could report the abuse. But the case didn't progress much. Soon, they moved house, and Bresha got her own room. She used to remain frightened because this gave her father enough chances to visit her alone at night, and she knew that the abuse would continue. She fled home once again, but she was sent right back. Bresha knew that there was no escape from this. She tried taking her own but was saved by a friend. Eventually, she had no other option but to do the unthinkable. It's pretty evident that Bresha's actions were not born out of impulse, but were a response to a lifetime of torment. The family not only faced physical harm, but also lived in an environment where Jonathan tried to control and scare them all the time.
He had to be in control of everything. If I had to go to the bathroom at nighttime, I had to ask him, can I go to the bathroom?
Fast forward to the night that changed everything. Reports indicate that Jonathan, a habitual drinker with a history of violence, had subjected his family to another night of terror. Bresha, witnessing her mother's brutal beating, decided that enough was enough. She retrieved a pistol from under the couch and in a moment of bravery, fired at her father. What came next blurred the line between self-defense and tragedy.
I think she's in a room. Ma'am, how old is your daughter? 14. She's 14? Yes.
After that night, Bresha got caught up in a legal mess and was accused of homicide. The prosecutors, using a report from 2011 and knowing about past abuse, decided on a course that would change Bresha's life. The question looms large. Was Bresha a criminal or a desperate daughter fighting to protect her family? People all over the country started arguing about how domestic violence survivors are treated because of the details of her case. It made us question what's fair when it comes to justice and protecting oneself. The infuriating aftermath. The incident was pretty straightforward. The aftermath of the incident, however, was far from it. Bresha's brave act of self-defense against her abusive father thrust her into the bewildering complexities of the legal system. Instead of recognizing her desperate need for protection, the court responded with a murder charge.
There is a murder charge against the child.
Yeah, and that's ridiculous. She, if anything, did it for her mother.
Media outlets, both local and national, seized upon the sensational aspects of the case. A young girl pushed to extreme measures to escape a life marked by relentless abuse. Bresha's aunt, Sherry Latessa, expressed her frustration and said that she had tried to get as much help as possible, but she didn't get it anywhere.
They've all been through it, and nobody in that county that we called would do anything for those kids.
Bresha's mother claimed that her daughter was their hero and had saved her from the clutches of her husband.
She's my hero, our hero. And now we need to move forward and have us a better life.
Bresha's aunt Martina believed that Jonathan would have harmed her sister beyond hope one day if she didn't receive help.
And I believe, and I still say it, if this didn't happen, my sister would have been in a box, which is a casket being put in the ground, if this incident didn't happen.
Upon asking why she didn't intervene by using her power as a policeman, she said that it would put her sister's life at risk because Jonathan couldn't tolerate her.
He did not like me. He didn't like me because I was a policeman. He did not like police officers. I just truly believe if I couldn't go in there, I would make it worse, if not deadly for her.
Social media platforms played a pivotal role in amplifying Bresha's story. The hashtag Free Bresha emerged as a rallying cry, echoing the sentiments of those who believed her actions were born out of desperation, not malice. People from diverse backgrounds, including advocates, survivors, and concerned citizens, united in their call for a compassionate reevaluation of Bresha's situation.
Over 6,000 people have signed a petition calling on Trumbull County prosecutors to drop charges against the child.
Critics of the media's portrayal argued that sensationalism often overshadowed the underlying issue, the failure of the system to protect victims of abuse. The public response was a mix of empathy and frustration.
She told on him that you tell the kids to tell, and then what happened? Nobody did anything. She did what she was supposed to do.
Advocacy groups seized the moment to shed light on the broader issue of violence. and its impact on families, and requested for a better understanding of the complex dynamics involved in abusive families.
That this was wrong. She even knew it was wrong what was going on her whole life, and nobody helped her.
On the other hand, some people questioned the validity of the claims and condemned Bresha's actions, contending that legal avenues should have been pursued instead of resorting to violence. The siblings of Jonathan Meadows denied all allegations brought against their deceased brother.
You know, he drank a little bit, he had the ways he did things, but my brother was, I literally say he would have given his life.
The brother argued that Bresha should be charged with homicide and receive proper punishment for her actions.
Well, they're gonna have to charge her because she killed somebody. I mean, if even no matter what age she is, you've taken a life.
His sister believed that the incident was premeditated.
It was cold and calculated. He was murdered in his sleep. There was no signs of abuse.
She argued that couldn't be the reason for her brother's demise.
She killed her father in his sleep. So regardless, violence is out the window. That's not the reason why it happened.
Yeah. She also pointed out that it couldn't have been done as self-defense, either because the situation didn't support it.
Kill somebody, if they were fighting and she shot him, that is excusable.
However, Bresha's attorney claimed that it was common for families of the criminals to claim their dear ones as innocents.
This doesn't surprise me at all, and they're mourning, and they may not know the full story, in all fairness to them.
But he also hinted that they had strong evidence in favor of Bresha that would help convince Jonathan's family sooner or later.
But I think that the evidence is going to be impossible to refute, and at some point they're going to have to face it and accept it.
In the midst of all the attention on Bresha Meadows, her lawyers started negotiating a plea deal. The deal was a big moment in the legal battle and was a deciding factor of Bresha's case. In the legal world, things are usually just one way or the other, but this deal was a bit more complicated. It recognized that Bresha's situation wasn't simple. As the terms of the plea deal emerged, Bresha faced the prospect of serving 1 year and 1 day in a juvenile detention facility. Additionally, she would undergo a 6-month stint in a mental health facility.
Judge Pamela Rintala decided that Bresha would not be sent home. Instead, she was temporarily transferred to an adolescent treatment facility for mental health evaluations.
She was scheduled to serve in the juvenile facility until 21 years old and come out with a clean record. The hashtag #JoshkaFreeBresha spread widely on social media, becoming a rallying call for those supporting the young girl trapped in a cycle of violence. Bresha Meadows, once only known in legal papers, became a symbol of strength and a clear reminder of how common domestic abuse is.
I think she just was trying to protect us and to stop it because she's seen so much of it.
Bresha was a stellar student and a kind individual, and the court's thoughtful decision reflects it.
Pretty smart. She's a straight A student. She made honor roll, merit roll, honor society. She's never been in trouble before. She's not a bad kid.
After going through a tough legal situation, Bresha became an advocate who spoke out against the ongoing cycles of violence affecting many people. Thanks for watching. Let's talk in the comments.